What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Raiders of the Lost podcast.
Episode 13, we're doing Sylvester Stallone versus Arnold Schwarzenegger. Let's do it!
So we're doing action star versus action star.
Obviously, I'm dressed up as Rambo.
And I got Arnie from Commando.
So if you want to see our costumes, which are pretty ridiculous, you got to go to the YouTube channel or check out the clips on TikTok or Instagram.
It's great. We're covered in fake blood and makeup. It's
gore.
insane.
I took my wife beater, I rubbed it in dirt, I tore it up a little bit. I'm feeling great. I cut the bottom of my bathrobe up to make the bandana up top.
It looks good.
The hair plays, man.
The hair plays.
It's a good time.
It might be a little hard to keep a straight face during this, but I think we can do it.
I think we'll be all right.
Yeah.
I'm kind of used to it already. Yeah. Our roommates thought it was hilarious. But anyways, let's begin the action star muscle and bullet episode.
Muscle and bullet episode.
So all these guys did in the 80s and 90s was curls and shoot fake guns. That's like all they did. They both are very, very successful guys, very smart, intelligent guys, and you can clearly tell hard-working guys.
Self-made.
Yeah, both self-made, came from nothing. I mean, we all know the story of Arnold. In Austria, he rode his bike, 5 miles or 10 miles to the gym every day.
Yeah.
And he came to America with nothing but hopes and dreams in being the biggest guy to ever live. And Sly came from dirt. He had nothing. We've talked about it on the Rocky episode where he sold his dog just to pay for food and everything.
Yeah.
And so they both came from nothing, became mega superstars, probably the two biggest action stars ever.
They were the two biggest stars two of the biggest stars in film for over a decade, almost two decades. And it's funny because essentially they were the superheroes of that time.
Yeah,
You know what
so,
I mean?
like,
there were no Marvel movies. People were going to see the Arnold movie or the Sly movie.
Yeah, that's when action stars and movie stars were the draw.
Yeah, and there was
There's
like
still
John Claude Van Damme was another big one. Jackie Chan was huge back then.
So people went to see the action star rather than the superhero.
Yeah.
So that's like the action star is still there.
Yeah.
Obviously, Liam Neeson's still kicking out these action movies.
The Rock took over, I think, as the ultimate action star.
Yeah. Keanu, everyone.
yeah.
So it's still around, but you're right. That was they were superheroes.
Yeah.
And they were way larger than life.
Yeah, they were like who we looked up to. Like Arnold was the coolest guy in the world to us. Like he was like the man.
Yeah.
Everyone wanted to be like him.
Yeah. Sylvester was earlier with Rocky, so he got really successful with Rocky. Then Arnold was doing competitions for Mr. Olympia until 1980 he retired.
Yeah.
I think he won 7 out of the 70s decade. He won 7 Mr. Olympias, and then he retired from that. And his first big break of a movie was Conan.
Yeah.
And that was a very successful movie for him, and it put him on the big screen for everybody to see.
Yeah, and then Sly obviously did the Rockies, but then I don't think he did an action movie until the 80s.
Yeah,
like the mid-80s.
Something like that.
Rambo was, I think, in the mid-80s, and it was his first action movie.
But yeah, we're going to go in-depth on their careers, their filmographies, compare them, their similarities.
Yeah, I think they're very similar. They have similar careers.
Their fights, stuff like that.
And then their friendship.
Yeah, but first off, the first thing I want to talk about is success of movies and their films in terms of grossing. And Arnold is superior in long-term grossing and in total grossing by a couple $100 million, not a ton, not a huge difference. They're both over 1.7 billion total gross.
Damn.
But Arnold has grossed more. He's also been in at least 20 fewer movies.
Yeah.
So Sly's been in a lot more movies, and in terms of percentage of movies to reach $100 million, Arnold is at 42%, and Sly's at 35%.
That makes sense because I was looking through Arnold's filmography yesterday. I was like, oh, it's not even that many movies.
You wouldn't think, but it's because he has so many big movies.
Because he makes awesome movies. They're all great.
Well, I mean, there are some duds.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about duds too.
Yeah.
Don't get carried away with
ahead of
that.
myself.
But so Arnold, I think, is a bigger box office draw.
Yeah, I think the public loves him.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy became the governor of California.
He was from 2003 to 2011. He was the governor of a state.
He was so beloved that if he had been born in this country, he could have been president.
He would have been president.
Absolutely. If he was able to run, he would have won.
I wonder. I gotta look into the rule because I know, there's a loophole where you don't have to fully be born in America to run. Like Ted Cruz was born in Canada, and he's running for president. But I think you have to have lived a certain amount of time of your life.
Is it at least 40 years?
Yeah, but he moved here when he was probably 20, 25 or something like that. But so Arnold's more successful. However, when it comes to creativity,
artistic,
Sly is a great filmmaker.
Yeah.
You know, he's directed 8 movies. He was nominated for Best Screenplay for Rocky.
Nominated for Best Supporting Actor for Rocky
And
for
Creed. Creed and Rocky.
Yeah.
So he's got 2 Oscar noms for acting and screenplay, plus Rocky won Best Picture.
Yeah.
Arnold has nothing to do with any Academy Awards.
He doesn't.
Besides,
I don't think he could care less.
Besides T2, Terminator T2 won Best Special Effects or got nominated. That's the only thing he's done that's related to the Academy. So, but yeah, he doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
But
that dude doesn't care.
So in terms of being an auteur and in terms of filmmaking, Sly definitely has the edge. He's a great filmmaker.
Yeah.
He directed like Rocky 2, Rocky 3, Rocky 4.
Yeah. He wrote Rambos.
Yeah, he directed 2 of the Rambos.
Yeah. But and the thing is, with Arnold set out to do what he achieved what he set out to do. He wanted to be the biggest star in the world, and he achieved that. Sly's always been a huge star, but Arnold was the biggest star alive for a while.
He also had another goal. He wanted to be American citizen. He wanted to be the biggest movie star in the world, and he also wanted to marry a Kennedy.
Oh, no
so he did
way.
all 3 things, which is crazy.
How does someone accomplish all that?
Some dude from Austria, discipline, man, and not giving up. Like that's what I love about these guys. Yeah, their movies, some of them are very cheesy and like Commando's ridiculous, freaking Cobra's ridiculous. You can say what you want about these guys, like they're all juiced up and like they seem like muscleheads and meatheads, which they are, but they're also very, very smart guys.
Yeah,
hyper talented in different areas.
Yeah.
And
highly self-disciplined, motivated. They believe in themselves.
Highly motivated.
They believe in themselves endlessly.
Like they have their goals, and all they want to do with their lives is achieve their goals, and they just attack it like nothing.
Yeah,
insane. I mean, just the discipline to win the Mr. Olympias that Arnold has won is insane.
Yeah,
obviously, there's the juicing, but you know what? It's still a lot of work.
There are a lot of guys competing for that.
Well, the thing with steroids, just real quick, is like, you can take steroids, doesn't mean you're going to get big. You have to put the work in. Yeah. You have to work even more just to get that big. So the steroids just enhance that, which shows Arnold's determination.
I saw this interview where he said he would like go to the gym where all the other guys would go who were training for it, and they wouldn't do as many sets and reps as him because his mentality, like their mentality was like, oh, I hate this, it's so hard, like we have to do so much. But his mentality was like, oh, I love it. If this is gonna help me achieve my goal, I'm just gonna keep doing it. I'll do as many as I can. Like he enjoyed it. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So his brain's both of their brains are just wired differently than other people's.
They allow themselves to suffer, which is how you find success.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about their first movies. Yeah. So Arnold was in this like super dumb low budget film, like I don't know what it's called, but there's these hilarious scenes of him like chasing a car and like. It's just like looks like it got made for $1,000, like a student film project. And then Sly's first movie was a porno.
Was it a straight porno?
Like it was called The Italian Stallion. It was like The Italian Stallion, Sylvester Stallone coming to theaters.
That's so fucking funny.
But look what he accomplished after that. But then obviously Sylvester with Rocky. Then Arnold was in some other movies, but nothing big. Then Conan.
Yeah, Conan was huge.
Absolutely destroyed it. Yeah. It blew him up. And he was massive in that movie because he's coming off Mr. Olympia 1980. I think
because he was famous, especially in California, because of Mr. Olympia.
So he was well known. People knew who he was.
Yeah,
like people recognize the weightlifters of today.
Yeah. That was a big thing in the 70s. Like that was a big news thing.
And then so also let's talk about their most iconic characters.
So obviously, I would say Sly's most iconic character is Rocky, but then Rambo's right behind it.
Yeah. But of course Rocky takes the cake.
Yeah. And then Arnold is the Terminator.
Yeah, Terminator. Yeah. And Arnold is Terminator. Yeah. And I love the quote where James Cameron's like, "I've never found someone so perfect for a role as like Arnold for Terminator." And it's like, well, the guy can't act. That's what he's like in normal life. Of course, you need like a brain dumb robot. You need Arnold Schwarzenegger to run some lines. Yeah. There you go. It's perfect. Just don't say anything, Arnold. Oh my God, this is perfect. Just look at him.
But I mean the Terminator blew Arnold up, especially T2. T2 was because Terminator was successful, but it only made like maybe like 20 mil. Mm-hmm. But T2 made I think 200 mil domestic, so it was a huge hit, and that catapulted him big time into the stratosphere of the biggest star in the world.
Yeah, and I mean obviously Terminator is a better movie, but T2 is still really good.
T2 is a great sequel.
It's a really great movie, and it also showed Arnold's charisma and Arnold's comedic talents. Yeah. So that's another thing that sets them apart.
Yeah, Arnold definitely has much more strength in terms of comedy.
Yeah, Sly is like not very good at comedy at all.
I don't think he can do it at all.
Like he's kind of funny as old Rocky Balboa in Creed. Like he's got the wit, but that's just dialogue written. But like he's made some bad decisions in terms of comedies, but Arnold is naturally a funny guy. Not that Sly's not a funny guy.
Yeah.
He just doesn't come off on camera as a funny guy.
Yeah, because like with Arnold, like True Lies is funny. The Last Action Hero, he's funny in it. Kindergarten Cop, he's hysterical in it. And even Jingle All the Way, he's funny, even though the movie's crazy. But Junior, he's really funny. And Twins, he's really funny.
Yeah, but I mean, speaking of those movies, so like something that Arnold did is he went into comedies and was very effective and successful.
And that was a smart move because it opened him up to the younger audiences, family audiences, because he was just straight action. And then it's like, oh, families can go see this movie and see Arnold.
So he's like that first big action star that went to do family-friendly movies, comedies, and like you see it with like The Rock's done it, Mark Wahlberg's done it,
Vin Diesel
Dave Bautista's done it to Vin Diesel. So they've all like it's always like that big action star
imitated that same career strategy.
Yeah, like the babysitter movie kind of thing. Yeah. Like he's a secret agent, but he has to take care of a little kid.
The Rock was the Tooth Fairy. Don't forget.
Yeah, and Vin Diesel was a pacifier, so let's not forget about that either. So like, there's something about Hollywood wanting to take these macho mega superstars and just break them down.
Yeah.
And like take their machismo away, whatever.
But it's fun but it's actually very smart because a lot of the people that I watch those kids movies, they're young teenagers, and then they grow up a few years later, and they're like they're fans of this actor, and now they're gonna go see his movies that are rated R.
Yeah,
so it's very smart.
It's really smart to build your audience. Yeah. You got to recognize, yes, your audience is gonna grow up, even if they're little kids. So it's smart for Arnold to go, I'm going to do some family movies. Yeah. These kids will grow up. I'm sure that our agents and everything were like, this is a good idea.
Yeah, because I think that's what really helped him spread his audience to everyone. Yeah. Being able to open into that comedy and sci-fi, not just straight action. You know what I mean? And finding success in those, because the movies were good.
Yeah. So obviously Arnold was a lot more prominent in the sci-fi genre than Sly ever was. Yeah. I mean, Conan's even kind of a sci-fi movie too.
I guess, in ways. Well, yeah.
There's like some stuff going on. There's some powers and shit. So I would say that's kind of sci-fi.
Like I would call fantasy more. I would say fantasy.
But then, I mean, Terminator, sci-fi.
Terminator, Total Recall.
Yeah.
The Running Man.
Yeah.
So in Sixth Man.
Yeah. I like the Sixth Man, even though it's a bad rating. But
Predator. Obviously.
So he was in a bunch of sci-fi movies dealing with, fucking aliens, robots, and stuff like that.
But they're all good.
Yeah,
they're really good. Like Predator is one of my favorite sci-fi movies.
Yeah, well,
it's awesome.
Arnold's worked with a lot of great directors like James Cameron, but also James McTiernan.
Paul Verhoeven, he did the Total Recall.
Yeah, and McTiernan did Predator. Yeah. So like he's worked with great action directors where Sly maybe hasn't so much. Yeah. And Sly has really only dabbled in sci-fi.
Sly sci-fi is Judge Dredd. And then Demolition Man, and I think that's it for sci-fi.
Demolition Man's pretty cool. I liked it when I was younger, but
it's not that good of a movie.
It's not a great movie.
We liked it when we were young because Wesley Snipes is in it because he's Blade, and then Sly's the man. So it was like, I think as kids, we're more inundated with all of these two superstars who we're obsessed with. We're in a movie together. So that's why we enjoyed it. But honestly, it's not that great of a movie.
No, I understand.
And then Judge Dredd, they just messed up Dredd.
Yeah, they ruined Dredd because he doesn't have the mask on, and it's just kind of just like Sly / Escape from New York kind of thing.
Rob Schneider is the comic relief.
Yeah,
it's just a weird movie.
I just didn't like it that much either.
So he tried. I think he was trying to emulate what Arnold was doing. But I just don't think the projects in the movies turned out as well as Arnold's sci-fi projects did.
Yeah, like so Arnold...
Because Total Recall is fantastic.
Yeah, it's a great movie. It's iconic forever. Like Arnold did Twins, which was incredibly successful because maybe people don't know, but Arnold and DeVito didn't take salaries on this movie.
Yeah, to keep the budget low and to make it affordable to film, they both took back-end percentage deals on a total gross instead of taking an upfront salary.
Yeah, so no one knew how successful this movie was going to be.
And then so Arnold was taking a risk because it was his first comedy. No one thought he could do it. And he was like, I know I can do this. And he was so confident in himself. He's like, I don't even need to get paid for this. I know it's going to be good, and I know it's going to make a lot of money. So give me the back-end percentage.
Yeah, plus you're working with Danny DeVito, who's a very talented guy. Yeah. Like if Danny DeVito didn't look the way he looked, he would have been like the biggest actor in the world probably. He's like very talented.
Very talented, yeah.
And DeVito and Arnold made a fortune off this movie because it grossed a stupid amount of money.
It grossed like 400, 500 million.
It made so much money, and then even like it's a cult classic kind of film.
Yeah.
And so they made a boatload of money, and they both just amassed fortunes from it.
Yeah.
And it opened up the door for them to be able to do whatever they wanted for their careers.
Yeah. And they made so much money off the movie that the film producers, they regretted it, obviously, but they also ended up hating DeVito and Schwarzenegger because they pretty much took all the profit the movie made for their salaries because they just got so much of the profit on the back end.
Hey, you know whose fault that is?
The studio didn't
It's
like.
not their
the studio barely made money on
It's
it.
not their fault, man. That's just good business by them.
Yeah.
And I love that movie's funny, and like I love like them. They're wearing like the Bad to the Bone T-shirts,
Yeah.
and like they're just the matching outfits.
Yeah.
And it's super fun. It's a good time.
They're a great pair together.
It's a light movie.
And that's why the movies, I think, work so well. It's because
Yeah.
it's like Schwarzenegger and DeVito together
You wouldn't think, but
as
like
brothers.
It's great, man.
It's really funny.
And then he made Junior.
They both did Junior.
So yeah, they did
Yeah.
Junior, which was a weird movie.
Weird movie, yeah.
Really weird movie. If
Yeah.
you try to make that today, I don't know what would happen.
Yeah.
But
obviously Arnold's trying something new.
yeah, so he's trying things. But then like Sly, like you said, he's trying to mimic Arnold's career.
Yeah.
And he sees Arnold doing comedies and being very successful at it.
Yeah.
So then Sly tries to get into comedies. He made this movie called called Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. And it's really fucking bad.
It's ridiculous.
It's one of the worst movies probably ever made.
He plays a cop with an overbearing mom who's just like always around him.
And like helping him out on his investigations. And like watch the trailer. Don't watch the movie. Just watch the trailer and you realize you'll be like, what the fuck were they thinking?
I don't know who approved that.
It's so unfunny and weird. And like there's a scene where Sly is like he has like a hostage situation or a standoff.
Yeah.
And then he has like a vision of like his mother, and then Sylvester Stallone's just like wearing a diaper in front of all these cops and stuff, and a gun in his hand. And it's like, what the fuck is going on in this
weird.
movie?
Yeah.
It's just really bad. Maybe the idea was funny, but
maybe
like,
it was better on paper.
I don't know who thought that was a good idea to make. But again, it was the 90s. They were just taking shots, dude.
Yeah, they were like, okay, Stallone makes money. Let's just fucking make this movie because we'll make money off of it. And it did make money.
Yeah, but like, dude, I'm telling you, the 90s were wild because not just in movies, everybody was taking swings and misses.
Yeah.
Fashion was swings and misses, music was swinging and missing. Like, it was like no one knew what the fuck was gonna work.
Yeah.
So I mean, I get they wanted to try it, but like, it made money too, which blows my mind.
Yeah, it made $70 million.
I think it made its money back, probably more.
Probably more, yeah.
Which is crazy, but like, it's like the worst movie I've ever seen.
But the thing is, yeah. So I think Sly after that he never did comedy again. I don't think. But with Arnold, he did like Jingle All the Way. I mean, it's not that great of a movie, but he's funny in it.
And we loved it when we were kids.
We loved it as kids, and that's what I was talking about. How he gets that wide audience because we loved him as kids because he was in Jingle All the Way and Kindergarten Cop, and he was in Commando. You know what I mean? But Kindergarten Cop, I think, is his best comedy. It's such a great. The same kind of thing with pairing him with DeVito, pairing him with a bunch of little kids.
Yeah.
It's like a fish out of water kind of story. And it's just the scenes with him and the little kids, it's hysterical.
It's, you know, his personality is great because they're like, we're just going to do Arnold be Arnold.
Yeah,
like this
just be
military
you.
looking guy, be ridiculous to all these little kids and try to run the situation and run a classroom. And it's hilarious. It works. It plays.
And we were saying there was a soundboard website with all the Kindergarten Cop quotes on it. And we used to crank call people with the Arnold Schwarzenegger quotes from Kindergarten Cop. So we'd call someone, they'd be like, hello. It would be like, who is your daddy and what does he do?
Stop whining.
It's not the tumor. It's not the tumor. And people would be like, who is this?
That line has so many good one-liners, too.
Yeah, it's probably got the best one-liners in that movie.
Yeah, it's just full of them. But that's a good movie, too.
It's a good movie, yeah.
It's a serious situation with the bomb in the school.
So if you take Rocky out of it, I think it's really clear that Arnold's movies are higher in quality and they're better than Sly's movies.
And more grossing.
Yeah.
Yeah, too. And I mean, also, Sly was in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
And Guardians of the Galaxy made a lot of money, so that counts as a credit
adds
for
to
him.
it, yeah.
So take that away, and he's pretty far behind because Guardians made like, what, $600 million?
Yeah. I mean, this is Arnold's list of his good movies. Conan, Terminator 1 and 2, Predator, Total Recall, Commando, True Lies, Last Action Hero, Twins, Kindergarten Cop. Those are the good movies.
Pumping Iron. Have you ever seen that?
No.
It's a documentary about him.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's really good.
I've seen some of it, yeah.
It's a really good movie, too, so I would definitely put that on the list, too. That's a fantastic movie because
like-
it really shows you what he's really like.
Yeah.
Or was like back in the day.
Yeah, but his movies are good. True Lies is a great action spy movie. It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah. It is really good.
And he's really funny in that.
And that's probably Arnold in his prime in terms of acting chops,
Yeah.
his physique and his action prowess,
Yeah.
and then picking like good stories and good directors and
Yeah,
stuff, and
and
like good
yeah.
supporting cast.
Yeah.
Like Jamie Lee Curtis is in that movie.
Yeah.
There's some other great people in that movie too. But it's not as ridiculous as Commando. Like Commando's great, but that's like
Or Collateral Damage.
Commando is like, you gotta take that with a grain of salt because it's just the most ridiculous movie of all time.
The Commando, I think, is the definitive 80s action movie
Yeah.
Where it's just this muscled up guy is a one-man army and fucking kills as many people as he sees. It's insane.
Yeah.
But it's so entertaining. And it's so great. I love the first 20 minutes of the movie. Is like he lives in like the woods with his daughter, and they like are so happy.
They're best buds.
Yeah, he's like carrying her on his shoulders, and like they're like chopping wood and hiking and stuff. And then shit goes down. Like she gets kidnapped, and then he has to find her. And then he just turns into full commando mode.
Yeah. The best scene in the whole movie before he starts killing everybody is when he's getting ready to go kill everybody, and like they aggressively do those quick cuts. It's like kind of like Edgar Wright's cutting
what he
style,
makes fun of.
which is like quick cuts of like putting the grenades on, doing the face paint, loading all these guns.
It's so cool.
Yeah, and he's like carrying like an artillery on his entire body. It's freaking ridiculous. And then he's just got like no clothes on besides that, and it's just like he's about to go kill so many people. He kills so many people in that movie.
It's insane.
They can't shoot at him or nothing. He doesn't even get hurt. It's crazy. He shoots and kills like 100 people in that movie, but the guy at the end like is a struggle.
It's fine. Yeah, I know, right? And that guy is like chubby and out of shape.
Yeah, he
with his
can fuck him
skinny
up.
arms.
He might be a good boxer, but like I would kill him.
But that movie has some great one-liners. Like the first guy he kills is like that Weasley guy, Sully. And in the airport, he says, "You're funny, Sully. I'm gonna kill you last." And then like 20 minutes later, he's holding him over a little ledge by his ankle, and he said, "Remember when I told you I would kill you last?" And then Sully's like, "Yeah, you did say that. Remember?" He's like, "I lied." And he just lets go of his ankle.
I like when he shoots the rocket launcher and blows up the guy. He's like, "Let off some steam, Bennett."
But Predator has some great one-liners when they attack that village of the drug dealers, and like he kicks the door open, he goes knock knock, and he just like unloads on the guys.
I love the opening of that movie when they do the handshake thing, and then he's like, "Dylan," he's like, "What's the matter, Dylan? CIA got you pushing too many pencils."
You son of a bitch.
Speaking of Commando, I think it's the most kills in a movie. I don't know, John Wick might have surpassed it, but it's at 74. Kills in just one movie. And then
it seems like more
in terms of total kill counts as of 2014. I couldn't find a recent statistic for this. As of 2014, Arnold was number one with 369 on-camera kills, and then Sly was third on the list with 267 on-screen kills. Chow Yun-fat was number two.
He's been in a ton of movies.
Yeah, so he's in a bunch of movies. He kills a bunch of people too. But again, we're talking about Sly. Rocky, he's not killing people, count. And that's 6 movies he's done or 8 movies he's done of just that story.
And I think the strength of both of their careers is what made them so big is they built franchises off of their backs.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Good franchises too.
So we got Rocky and Rambo, and then now the Expendables for Sly, and then for Arnold it's Terminator. Terminator.
Yeah.
Oh, Conan's a franchise.
They're making a new one.
They made a couple of Conans.
Yeah, they're making a new one. But we're talking about how great these guys are. But let's talk a little bit more about their bad movies they've choices. Done. Like there was a string of movies for Sly, like between 1998, 1999, and 2005. This guy couldn't make a good movie to save his fucking life.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of people they thought his career was gonna be over because he couldn't get a good movie going.
Yeah.
So then in 2006, Sly made Rocky Balboa.
Oh,
and
yeah,
so
yeah.
that kind of brought him back.
I remember. Yeah.
Because people forget Sly was like, people thought he was done.
Yeah.
They were like, he's old, he's washed up, his movies freaking suck now.
Yeah.
And then he made Rocky Balboa, and everyone's like, oh, he's fucking cool again.
Yeah.
And so and then Expendables, so he's made a huge resurgence in his career.
Rocky Balboa is a good movie.
And now
it's
the
good.
Creed's franchise is fantastic, and he's great in them. And, he got an Oscar nom for Creed for supporting actor.
But he's also made some really good movies, like Cliffhanger is awesome.
Oh, dude, I love Cliffhanger.
Copland's awesome. That's James Mangold's first movie, Copland. It's got De Niro in it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Daylight, it was awesome.
Yeah.
When they're stuck in the tunnel, remember?
That was pretty
During
cool.
the earthquake.
It's cheesy but cool.
Yeah, but it's fun. Tango and Cash is good. Him
Yeah.
and Kurt Russell play rival cops, and they have to pair together. So he's made some really good movies as well outside of Rocky and Rambo.
Yeah.
But Rambo 1 is one of my favorite action movies. I think it's fantastic.
It's a really well written script and it's a really well directed movie.
It's so smart because it's an allegory for how Vietnam soldiers were treated when they came back to America, because a lot of the public hated them because of the imagery that the public was shown on media and in papers and in magazines of American soldiers like destroying villages and hurting innocent people.
Yeah.
But I mean, all these guys, they were drafted. You know what I mean?
They didn't have a choice.
They didn't have a choice. They were doing what they were ordered to do to protect their country.
Yeah.
And when they came home, they were hated by a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so that has a heavy theme within the first Rambo of the cops not trusting him. That cop like trying to kick him out of the town.
I mean, yeah, the whole opening of the movie, he's just trying to walk through the town. He's not even trying to stop anywhere. He's just walking through.
And the cop doesn't want him anywhere near his town. He's just like thinks he's scum. And then there's that line after in that woods fight when when Rambo injures a lot of the cops. He purposely doesn't kill them, but he really hurts them as like it's like the warning of like, don't mess with me. And he holds a knife up to that cop, the captain, and he's like, just let it go. And then the guy just still can't let it go. They still go after him again.
Yeah. Rambo might be the most badass character like in action history.
I think he is the most badass.
He's pretty badass because of just his training and how how unstoppable he is, and again the one man army kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think Rambo does it a little better than like Commando.
Well, because Commando, he's just straight spraying people with bullets. But with Rambo, like especially the first Rambo, he makes all these traps. He knows how to use nature to his advantage.
The Green Beret thing is a lot more interesting.
Yeah, he's a highly trained killer, and you can really get that sense of it.
Yeah, you don't really ever get that in any Arnold action movies. Like, yeah, he's like a special ops Navy SEAL and like Predator and stuff like that.
But it's the same character.
But he's still just shooting giant machine guns.
Yeah.
But although the ending of Predator when he finally beats the Predator is super fun.
That's probably the best ending to an action movie.
Yeah, the booby traps and everything. I love that part.
That montage of them both preparing for the battle, and then Arnold just like pulls up the torch, and he's like,
ah! He just goes straight animalistic on it.
Oh my god,
dude,
it's so good.
Predator's great. I love that movie.
It's one of the best sci-fi movies.
But probably
it really is.
but probably like one of the worst movies Sly has ever made is Cobra.
Yeah. Cobra is I think the epitome of cliches in an action movie in the 80s.
It's like he wrote it in a week.
Yeah.
Because he wrote that, right?
Yeah.
But did he direct it?
No,
but he wrote that movie. And
he wrote and produced
straight garbage.
It's awful. It's probably the cheesiest action movie ever made.
But Cobra is a great movie to watch if you just want to have fun and laugh
at a movie.
and just roast a movie.
It's a great bad movie.
Like hang out with your buddies.
But the guy, he chews on a match all the time. He's constantly wearing sunglasses, even when he's in dark rooms.
The gloves.
He's like, I think he got a little self-centered with himself with Cobra, like trying to look cool the whole time, trying to like seem badass. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, they're both vain because they're so shredded and ripped.
Yeah.
But like obviously in Rambo 2, the guy's shirtless the whole movie.
He's shirtless the entire movie for no reason.
The entire
no
movie.
No
He's
clothes. He's in scenes with other characters and they're fully clothed and he's just shirtless.
Like shouldn't he have some clothes for protection in terms of like abrasions and cuts and
exactly.
stuff? And knives.
Protection from the sun. They're in the desert most of the time.
Yeah, you're gonna get
He's
a sunburn,
running around
bro.
in the desert like on rocks and sand and dirt. Like,
Absolutely ripped. Unnecessary. Like how do you get that ripped in the jungle?
what are you eating? Come on. There's no way you could get that big.
Straight up just like meat and water.
And then the ending of that movie, it's so bad. He's talking to the colonel. The colonel's like, what are you going to do? How are you going to live, Rambo? And Rambo just looks at him. He's like, day by day. And then he's still shirtless, and he just starts walking into the desert shirtless with nothing on him. Just like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Sly, he doesn't have a lot of great one-liners.
He's not one-liners like Arnold.
Because he's like a little more sophisticated, and his lines are like a little more thought out.
Well, no, Cobra has really bad one-liners.
Well, I mean, Cobra, yeah, but I mean,
bad.
his other ones, but
Cobra's full of
memorable one-liners.
Yeah.
I mean, like when you think of memorable lines of Sly, you think of Rocky quotes and stuff like that.
Yeah, not his action movies.
But Arnold definitely takes the cake when it comes to like great, awesome one-liners.
He has like 50 awesome ones.
It's a huge list.
Yeah.
And Sly doesn't really take the cake in terms of one-liners.
I think and then Arnold repeats himself a lot. Like he said, "I'll be back in like 20 movies." He likes to have fun like that.
Yeah.
Like use his famous quotes over and over again.
Yeah.
He says bullshit like in every movie.
But let's talk about that's Sly's bad movies. But now let's talk about how did Arnold Schwarzenegger come back from Batman and Robin? That's a miracle on itself.
I think because the movie was not his movie.
Yeah,
Like
he's a villain.
he was one of like 3 villains in it.
What were they thinking, man?
I don't know. Well, what they were thinking was, let's just make a movie for kids to buy toys for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The whole movie was just an advertisement for all the toys they sold.
Yeah, you can tell by the suits and everything.
That's why, like, everything was so ridiculous and over the top.
Yeah.
It's like because they sold so much merchandise for it.
Dude, his wardrobe and like his makeup and everything.
He's got like the
absurd.
bathrobe on and like
He just has like bright blue like makeup in his entire body.
But you know what? I watched some clips last night and he's actually really good in it.
I'm sure he is.
acting wise.
Yeah, but it's not his
like I've
fault,
never
it's a bad
seen
script.
seen him emote so well before. But like it's just the movie sucks.
I mean, if you're thinking from his perspective, it's like no one ever takes me seriously as an actor. Now I'm like in a Batman movie. Yeah. I'm a villain. This is cool. He never really plays the villain. You can tell
he had a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, he probably had a blast.
And he probably got paid $20 million.
Yeah, he probably had a great time.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that he didn't do a good job or anything. I'm just saying that it's such a bad movie and such a bad role, which again, it's not his fault.
Yeah.
Anyone could have been in that role and and it would have been a shit movie.
He says so many ice puns in that movie. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
It's gonna be a freeze.
Everybody chill. But then also Jingle All the Way is like a pretty bad movie.
Yeah, but for adults. But I'm telling you, I loved it when I was a kid.
Yeah. But I mean, I think he recovered from Batman and Robin because he was the biggest star.
Yeah.
Like everyone loved Arnold.
But I want to talk more about their feud. So in the 80s, I think Sly said in a quote that he violently hated Arnold Schwarzenegger.
They hated each other, yeah.
Like a complete rivalry.
Yeah.
But like hated his guts, wish he didn't exist, wish he wasn't on the earth.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure he was very jealous of Schwarzenegger because Schwarzenegger was always a bigger star.
He was always on top.
Always outdoing him.
Yeah, once Arnold came up, because before it was Sly, because he had Rocky, and then Arnold came up and took all of his thunder with Conan and Terminator.
Yeah, and not only is Arnold just bigger, more successful movies, maybe that's why Sly is so obsessed with being so shredded all the time.
Yeah.
Because he's a smaller guy.
And I think that's why he imitated his career choices as well. But Arnold's the same way. They hated each other. But eventually they became friends and they became very close. Mm-hmm. And it's really cool. There's like a few supercuts on YouTube you can look at. They actually, starting in like the late 80s and 90s when they became friends, they started referencing each other in their movies.
Oh, no way.
So like in Last Action Hero, the whole thing is this kid gets Arnold Schwarzenegger out of a movie, and now he doesn't think he's Arnold Schwarzenegger, and like there's like the pop culture is a little different, and he's not a famous movie star, but the kid's like, you're Arnold Schwarzenegger, and so they go to a Blockbuster video, and because the kid wants to show him Terminator 2 poster, so they walk in and there's a giant cardboard cutout of Terminator 2, and it's Sylvester Stallone as Terminator, and then Arnold and the kid goes, no, it's supposed to be you, and then Arnold goes, oh, I love that guy, it was his best movie. and then in Judge Dredd, Sly is told by Sandra Bullock that there's a famous library in the city called the Arnold Schwarzenegger Library. And then Sly's like, wait, Schwarzenegger Library? And then she goes, yeah, well, they named it after him after he was president. He was like, wait, Schwarzenegger was president? This is in Demolition Man, I mean.
Yeah, Demolition Man.
Because he's like, he was frozen.
Yeah. Demolition Man's ridiculous because it's funny, though, but like, because I remember the only restaurant in the world is Taco Bell. It's like high-end dining and stuff. It's just like, this is a ridiculous movie.
It's dumb.
It's pretty bad.
But there are like 4 or 5 movies in each of their filmographies where they make little jokes about each other in them. So they became friends, and like I think they understood like, hey, we're both doing the same thing. Yeah. We can do it together. It's not like we're competing anymore.
But they needed that tension and competition
it probably
to become
drove them.
great. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like Sylvester Stallone like made this great movie, so Arnold's like, you know what? I need to like make this movie where I shoot more guns. Then Sly's like, I need to shoot more guns here. Then Arnold's like, I'm gonna get more jacked for this movie. And then Sly's like, I'm gonna get more jacked for this movie. It's like back and forth, back.
It's literally like Tarantino and Paul Thomas Anderson.
Basically. But something else I want to talk about is the culture battle between these guys in terms of who's a more influential figure in the world and who's made more of an impact on the world, whether like good or bad or just pop culture wise or whatever. And I would have to say it's Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I would say it's definitely Arnold.
Because, I mean, yes, Sly has the Oscars and Rocky and more of a filmmaker status, but like Arnold Schwarzenegger globally was a much bigger star. And again, the guy was the governor of California for 2 freaking terms.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane.
He was a politician.
He would have been president, like you said.
He wasn't just a representative. He was a governor of a state.
And he was a Republican and became governor of California for 2 terms, which is a very blue state, which is insane.
That's how much people love him.
But I think that shows you how ridiculous politics are in California, where they elected the fucking Terminator for 2 terms. And everyone thinks that like California is an amazing place politically.
What state elected Jesse Ventura?
That was like some random mid-country state, I think. Like I can't remember, like North Dakota or something. Like Oklahoma. Or, I don't know. I'm going to get this wrong. But that was more of like a central country state.
But I also think that Arnold has tried everything in his career. He's tried every kind of movie, because you have the sci-fi, you have the action, you have the comedy, and then he tried horror what's
End
it
of
called?
Days?
End of Days, which was pretty good, but I mean, obviously wasn't great. But like he was trying to do it like a straight act. Like I don't think he does that much action in that movie. It's all acting. You know what I mean? So I think he was like trying to push himself and his talents, and like obviously he has a ceiling for how much acting he can do, but it didn't stop him from getting better and better and trying to do different projects and trying to get out of his comfort zone and always trying to do something new for the audience. You know what I mean?
I like that. I honestly like End of Days. I know it's a bad movie and it's kind of cheesy, but that movie also has a great one-liner where he's freaking talking to Satan.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And he goes,
because he plays an alcoholic. He's an alcoholic in the movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's talking to Satan and he goes, "You're a choir boy compared to me.
You're
a choir boy."
You're a fucking choir boy.
To Satan. It's ridiculous.
It's a little cheesy.
But I like End of Days.
But he does a good job in it. He's not bad in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's not.
And he's like trying to play a rough, alcoholic, bitter guy. You know what I mean? Which is a little different for him. And then Sly, I feel like never really try to push the envelope too much acting wise.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, he has the 2 nominations, but if it's
he's
not
playing Rocky though.
If it's not drama
Yeah.
and it's not Rocky, then I mean he's not ultra talented.
Yeah.
If the role is not perfect for his acting talents.
Yeah.
So he's perfect for Rocky because he is Rocky. You know,
Yeah.
he's that underdog and that fighter who never gives up.
Yeah.
And you connect with Rocky so much. So that's I think why Sly does such a good job with the acting in the Rocky movies.
What would you say is your favorite Arnold movie?
My favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger movie?
Yeah.
I think it has to be Terminator 2 because I love Terminator 1 with him, and that's like where he got really, really famous. But
Yeah.
like his personality starts to come out in T2, and he's like, you know, like I said, it shows off his humor and his fun.
Yeah.
And it's a really good movie, and he's obviously gets to act more in that
Yeah.
movie rather than in Terminator. He's just like a motionless zombie most of the time.
Yeah.
But I think T2 is my favorite Schwarzenegger movie, probably.
I would say Predator is my favorite Schwarzenegger movie because I obviously think Terminator is a better movie, but I think in his character in Predator is the epitome of Arnold.
Yeah,
You
I'm
know
gonna
what I
change
mean?
my answer now.
Because in Terminator, he just still plays the Terminator,
Yeah,
so he
you're
doesn't
right.
really get to do much. But like with Predator, it's like this is Arnold Schwarzenegger. This is everything you need to know about him, and that was like the peak of like Arnold being Arnold. You know what I mean?
He's jacked in that
gigantic
movie
in
too.
that.
I love the stories on set.
So is
where-
Carl Weathers.
Yeah, Carl Weathers is a beast too.
Yeah.
But there's so many funny stories on set where, like, you know, it's all these testosterone heavy guys, these
Yeah.
macho dudes, these dudes are just lifting weights on set.
Yeah.
And everyone, I think Jesse Ventura like challenged Arnold to an arm measuring competition to see whose arms were bigger, and Arnold like destroyed him. He's like, "Oh yeah, you want to do it? Let's
Oh my
let's
God.
measure.
Why
You want to
would
measure
you?
arms? Let's do it." And like, why would you even
Why even
compete
try?
with Arnold? But like, Arnold is just he's the fucking man.
Yeah, he's a tank.
He's fucking huge.
But
in the
like,
movie.
I love this. Like, Predator is so good, and it's like you forget how well made it is. Like that scene where he jumps off the cliff into the water, and he goes into the mud, and he's camouflaged by the mud and the Predator. I remember just watching that, being terrified that the Predator's gonna see him.
Yeah.
It's just it's such a good movie. It
Yeah.
really is.
I love Predator.
I think it's an underrated movie, and people love it.
It'll stand the test of time because we watched it like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And I've seen that a lot.
Like I'd rather watch that one anytime rather than the new ones.
Well, if you had to pick, would you want to watch a Sylvester Stallone movie or an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie?
well, it depends. Are we talking just action movies?
Just
Not Rocky?
any movie.
I would go Arnold.
I think I would go Arnold too.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Rocky, but like, dude, I think like I said, Arnold's like a bigger star, and like his movies are just overall better movies.
He has more better movies. Yeah, it's simple.
And I just love the guy.
Yeah.
The camera loves him. The
He's
camera loves Sly too, but like,
he's so likable.
Yeah.
He has a lot of charisma, and you just can't help but like enjoy watching him on screen. You know what I mean? And Sly's the same way. It's just Arnold's on a different level.
and it is really great to see that they both get together for the Expendables, and like that was like Arnold's first movie back. I think was the first Expendables.
Yeah,
Expendables.
he had just had a little cameo for like 30 seconds
At the end of the movie,
Yeah.
I think, and it was like, you know, he just finished being governor. Or I think he was still governor at the time.
Maybe.
I think he was still governor. Yeah, and there was like controversy, like, oh, he's wasting time being in a movie.
It's like
He's on set for 2 hours.
seriously.
So I think that was his first movie back while he was still governor, and it's just cool to see them both. And then
And they did
Expendables
Escape
too.
Plane together.
Yeah. So they've done a few movies together now, which is pretty cool. And I'm sure they're best buds in real life.
Yeah.
Just smoking cigars and counting money.
And I love Arnold is just like, he owns a tank.
Yeah.
He just is always ripping cigars all day. He's just like, I think he's the epitome. So I think they both defined masculinity in the 80s.
Yeah.
And they created this culture of men wanting to get big and strong and be tough guys. And that defined not the entire generation, obviously, but a lot of people gravitated towards that. And they created that culture of being a big, strong, tough, masculine guy. It enforced that in American culture. Like, they had an impact on the culture of America. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree for sure.
But ultimately, so I say Arnold versus Stallone. Arnie wins.
Arnold wins everything except for filmmaking and like
reception.
creativity.
Yeah.
So Sly takes the edge in terms of that, like behind
quality,
the camera, writing and stuff like that, But overall, Arnold's bigger star, bigger action hero.
But we
more
love them
successful
both.
Films. Yeah, they're
both great.
Dude, they're both icons,
Yeah.
and I'll love them forever.
And I love their rivalry and their friendship, and I think they're such a fun part of film history. Their movies,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They're legends,
It was,
man.
Like the movies where it's like came after the 70s, which is like critically the best decade of movies ever. And then it was like the 80s. It was like, let's have some fun.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
The 90s were like, I don't know what the fuck's happening. I have no idea. The 90s were a mess, except for like Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, but for us growing up, I would say Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone were our superheroes growing up.
Yeah, absolutely.
We didn't have to watch superhero movies because we had them.
Yeah. It's a good point. All right, that's it for Arnold Schwarzenegger versus Sylvester Stallone.
Hope you enjoyed, and I hope you enjoyed our costumes.
Episode 13 of Raiders of the Lost podcast. Be sure to leave us those 5-star reviews, please. We're trying to get in the top 10 at least, and we're trying to dethrone rewatchables.
Do it now.
Do it now.
Do it.
Get to the chopper. Get to iTunes.
Kill me.
Leave a 5-star review now.
What are you waiting for?
Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Instagram, TikTok at Raiders of the Lost podcast.
I'm a police officer. I'm a police officer.
I should be doing a Rambo impression right now because I'm dressed as Rambo. But what is a Rambo impression even? Just kill a bunch of dudes?
They drew first blood.
They drew first blood. All right, everybody. Thanks.
Bye, everyone.